friends, it's Miss Jackie, and today I am going to show you how to make this wonderful Hobbit door wreath. So let's go over our supplies and get started. All right, so let's look at the supplies we're going to need. So obviously we're going to need something to put on the back. I have this piece of wood. It's a little bigger than I would like, but it's going to work. I've seen this wreath done a couple different ways. So instead of wood, you could use pink foam. I've seen it done with cardboard and popsicle sticks glued to it. It's really just a matter of how you would like it to look. We're also going to need something to put on the outside. So I have this grapevine wreath. Again, I've seen it done many different ways. I would recommend Googling different Hobbit wreaths to see which way you like. Maybe you'd prefer brick. Maybe you'd prefer it completely covered. It's really up to you. The other thing that we're going to need is E6000, and we're going to need a hot glue gun. We're also going to need paint, of course. And then since I have this solid piece, an X-Acto knife would work better, but I couldn't find mine, so I'm gonna use scissors to give me the plank look. We're also going to need something to put for our doorknob. So I have three options here. These two are actual doorknobs, and this one is a wood bead. And once I'm finished, we'll just see which one looks the best. Now that is what you're gonna need for the main part of the wreath. After that, it's gonna be optional as to how you want it to look. So I have flowers, and I have many different kinds. I also have some of this reindeer moss here. I have some of these. I have some mushrooms, and I have some googly eyes. I saw a really cool thing to do to make it look like you have screws in there, so we might give that a try. And then, of course, something to hang the wreath. The other thing that I have, which is optional, are these zip ties, just to give it a little bit more support. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is carve our planks into the door. So again, if you had an X-Acto knife, that would work better. Luckily, this wood isn't too hard, so my scissors will work well. So you're just gonna decide how you want your planks to look, where you want them to look. If you wanted to do any extra carving, you could do that as well. So let's go in and draw our lines. All right, so there we go. So it might be hard to see, but I did go ahead and draw some lines in there. You could use, again, an X-Acto knife. You could also use a wood burner if you'd like. I've done that before, but there's that. So now it is time to paint. Now, of course, your Hobbit door can be whatever color you want your Hobbit door to be. I went ahead and went the route of Bilbo and Frodo, and I chose green. So I have a couple different greens because a lot of this is just playing around to see which color looks the best. I also have black so that I can go in with the lines. You could use gray as well, but I'm gonna go ahead and do black, and then I'll do another coat of green over that. So let's get started painting. Don't forget, play around to see what works best for you. All right, so I'm all finished painting. Now, the one thing I didn't film was I did put a layer of Mod Podge on here, so it's a little shiny on camera, but that could be why. So we have the green, we have the black lines through the planks, and then the little googly eyes that I put on there to act kind of like as bolts, the same way that Bilbo and Frodo do at their house. So it's sat, it's dry, so the next thing we're going to do is put on our grapevine wreath. You're going to want to find a spot that you like. And for this, we're going to use the E6000. And then I do have these zip ties for a little extra support. So when you find where you like it, then that's where we're going to glue it. And it's okay if, like this, when you look under it, there's a little bit of holes, but if you see anything that doesn't look well, we're going to be covering this anyways, so it doesn't need to be perfect. So what we're going to do is take our E6000 and then just put it all along the side. And with the zip ties, I'm not too concerned about them being seen either, because I'm just gonna cover it with moss. So when you have it how you want it set, I would recommend flipping it over. That way it's gonna go onto the wreath. And then if you have something that's a little heavy, putting it on here so it really presses them together. It takes 24 hours for the E6000 to dry. So we're gonna go ahead and set it somewhere safe, put a little pressure on it, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and get started with the decorating. All right, so it's been 24 hours. Our glue has cured and it's dried and it's ready to go. So you can see we're held on there pretty sturdy. I did add a little too much E6000. I can see some of the shininess around here, but the good thing is we can just cover it up with moss. I also chose which handle I wanted to use for the doorknob. I really like this kind of goldish one, and I think it'll fit well with the colors. It already looks like a Hobbit hole, so now we're gonna start decorating. So at this point, it's gonna come down to what you really want it to look like. I would recommend going online and seeing what other people have done. It's a great way to draw inspiration for how you want it to look. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, and our Hobbit door is complete. So I'll bring it a little closer so you can see more detail, since it was a little shiny laying on the table. But we have our moss, our mushrooms. The googly eyes worked really perfect in making it look like there's bolts in the door, and of course our doorknob. Now, the great thing about this is that it's a highly adaptable project. So this is a pretty big one, but you could make it smaller. So if you wanted it a little smaller, here's a size down. This one here, I have the wood bead that I painted gold and used as a doorknob. And then this is that smaller piece of wood, which is much lighter, so easier to hang. So there's this one. And if you want to see the size difference, it's a little bit, but it looks just the same and it can hang either way. Now, another thing you could do is go even smaller. So these ones here are great for ornaments, or you can make them into magnets, and you could do really any color that you wanted. As you can see, I made quite a couple of these. So I have that, and then I have a little orange one here. Now, these ones just use the smaller grapevine wreaths, and then these are just thin, the same kind of thin wood chips, but you do it the exact same way. So there is our wreath. I want to thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you have an amazingly fantastic day. Bye.